Imagine if you were walking into your kitchen to check your refrigerator for the third time in the last 20 minutes because it's empty and you know it's empty, but still you for some reason insist on checking it again and again, hoping something will just appear magically, I guess, because you're hungry, but that really just won't happen and you might be going insane, but that is all entirely besides the point. Okay, getting back on track, you are walking through your kitchen and you accidentally stub your toe on the corner of your countertop. And it hurts so much, you just have to yell out, "Oh, fuck!" Immediately, you realize you've really messed up now. The police storm your apartment and you're quickly thrown in jail. No trial, no chance to defend yourself or seek any sort of forgiveness for what you've done. After all, they caught you red-handed. They caught you on recording using dirty language. You see, this is the world of Shimoneta, a world where everything and anything considered dirty has been completely outlawed. This means no swearing, no dirty jokes, and absolutely no mentions of docking, we'll call it. Now, what does this kind of world do to people? Imagine growing up without knowing anything about docking at all. How would your teenage years go? Well, Shimoneta seeks to answer that question with the help of our main character, Tanakichi Okuma, and Ayame Kajo, who are both terrorists. They're terrorists. But honestly, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Tanakichi Okuma is a teenage boy who came from a school that is rated as the school with the lowest morality score in the country, and he's now moving up in the world by a lot, honestly, as he's about to start his first day at Tokyoka High, which, in complete contrast to his last school, is the one with the highest morality score. What this means is basically that Tanakichi's last school functioned basically like a normal school in our world, where he was taught about docking and all that comes with that. Meanwhile, the students of Tokyoka High aren't taught a single thing about docking. So Tanakichi sticks out like a sore thumb, which attracts the attention of the student council in which he's invited, for the purpose of catching the terrorist by the name of Blue Snow. Blue Snow is a terrorist that goes around wearing nothing but a bedsheet and panties covering her face. She goes around chatting obscenities and spreading lewd pinups of girls. The student council think Blue Snow could be a student at Tokyoka High, which is why they have decided to take it upon themselves to stop her. And the reason they seek Tanakichi's help in this is because he has a lot more knowledge about the obscene things that Blue Snow stands for than all of these sheltered kids at Tokyoka High. Because even the student council aren't really taught anything. Now, Tanakichi's sole reason for being here at Tokyoka High is actually because he looks up to the student council president by the name of Anna Nishikinomiya. That wasn't that hard to say. Anyway, now Tanakichi's sole reason for being here at Tokyoka is actually because he looks up to the student council president by the name of Anna Nishikinomiya. Got it, finally. So it was easy for him to accept his mission and the invitation to the student council that came with it. Now, you might be a bit confused because I said this guy was a terrorist, but he looks like a pretty good guy so far. Well, I'm getting to it, you impatient prick. Now, I've already spoiled this to you, but Ayame Kajo reveals to Tanakichi that she's in fact Blue Snow. Who could have guessed? But in a surprising turn of events, at least for her, Tanakichi immediately tries to report her to what is basically the police, but for dirty things, I guess. The reason this is surprising to Ayame is because Tanakichi's dad is one of, if not the most well-known obscene terrorist, and Ayame here believes in the phrase, like father, like son, so surely all the things he said earlier about looking up to Anna must have been complete nonsense. But alas, that's not the case. This guy truly wishes to be a better person. Ha! What a complete joke. Ayame decides that this isn't really in the cards, so she gives him a simple choice. Either join her, or she calls the police on him for something he did earlier in the episode. I didn't really bother mentioning it because it's only taken up this one time, but basically he took the smoke for a crime he didn't commit, and then escaped from the police with this rope, which Ayame just so happens to have collected, and all of his DNA samples that come with it. With no real other choice, he decides to join Blue Snow, and then together they create a terrorist organization by the name of SOX. Which, unfortunately, means it's time for me to...
Yes. Feel free to laugh, but at least this means I can swear from now on. This reminds me, I never properly explained what these things are that are preventing me from swearing, and everyone in the world of Shimoneta.
So, you've probably noticed by now that every character on the show is wearing these weird necklace choker things, and there's a reason for this. Well, obviously, but it's pretty fucked up. These collars and bracelets by the name of PM devices are used to track both your speech and your hand movements, which means they can make sure you go to jail if you do anything that is considered indecent. Example: there's a character in the show that wants to start drawing lewd drawings, but she's unable to as the bracelet would track her hand movements and be able to tell what she's drawing and then promptly arrest her for it. How fucking insane isn't that? This right here is what SOX are fighting against. This, which is a clear violation of our, well, freedom as people. A lot of people undermine the message behind Shimoneta and the anime as a whole as just low-brow comedy. Hey guys, look, it's that one show all about how funny sex is. But I think this is completely missing the point. Which is why I titled this video, Nobody Understands Shimoneta. Wow, who could have guessed? With the rise of the complete brain rot humor, it seems people have forgotten how powerful of a tool humor is when it comes to, well, politics. Satire is a medium that has been one of the most effective ways for people to portray their messages throughout history. Shimoneta is undoubtedly a satire of censorship, as well as the school system's complete lackluster sexual education. Obviously, this is taken to a bit of an extreme, but that's what satire is supposed to be. Every character in Shimoneta is a reflection of a very real problem, although turned up a notch, to the point where it's not really realistic, but it gets the point across.
Tanakichi is a reflection of the shame that many children are taught to feel around sex, and how it scares them away from it. Throughout the entire show, Tanakichi is forced to battle against the fact that even if he doesn't want to admit it, he's enjoying committing these quote-unquote acts of terror with Blue Snow. And this is because at his root, Tanakichi isn't this clean person that doesn't make dirty jokes or stays away from all these things society labels as dirty now. In the show, I'm not trying to be emo and edgy and the Joker talking about society. Anyway, instead of any of that, Tanakichi loves dirty jokes and being perverted or lewd, which is honestly completely normal for a teenage boy. But the government of Shimoneta and the people under this government don't consider these completely normal things to be okay, which forces Tanakichi to live his life as somebody he just isn't. And this leads him to be ashamed and guilty for enjoying these things that are so stock standard for a teenage boy who just hit puberty. This is a problem that is common in the real world too, especially among kids that come from a religious family in which a lot of the time things like sex and foul language are deemed as sinful, despite how harmless and normal these things actually are. This creates so much shame within a child who's just trying to be themselves, but their whole family and the religion that their family believes in directly opposes that notion. And through Tanakichi's still pretty absurdist but still quite realistic portrayal of that little kid that was bullied into being ashamed of who they are, I think Shimoneta succeeds greatly in showing the damage it can have. Ayame is a reflection of, well, the need for freedom within people. and how censorship doesn't create order, but instead just a bunch of inner turmoil that at best people will just hide, but at worst they will let out in the form of, in this case, lighthearted terrorism. But in reality, the consequences can be way worse, which is shown in groups such as White and Black Peaks, which are groups within the world of Shimoneta that honestly just commit sexual crimes. Since sex, and honestly any acknowledgement of its existence, is completely banned, these people turn to force to get what they need. Because at the end of the day, even if you ban sex, you can't ban the human thoughts and feelings that sex is built upon. Fetishes, kinks, love, fucking horniness, it's all still there within every single person of Shimoneta. Even if they're banned from expressing these feelings, they are still there. And if you lock these feelings away and force them down deep within people, eventually they'll just pile up more and more, and all that creates is desperation. And that's what brings us to Black and White Peaks. These groups are both led by disgusting and horny men who have been left without any way to deal with their desires, and therefore have turned to just say, fuck it. If fulfilling the desire alone is a crime, then why not fulfill it in the most criminal way possible? And that kind of mindset creates these groups of sex criminals. Now, Shimoneta is still a pretty lighthearted show, so they don't really end up doing much more than, say, stealing underwear, at least when it comes to sex crimes. But this is all still an amazing point against censorship, because even if you censor people's thoughts and feelings, those same thoughts and feelings are still there. They're there, locked away and building up until they explode. And that's one of the easiest ways to turn your civilians into monsters. Anna is a reflection of the sheltered kid who has been protected from all the truths of the world, and when given a taste of it, completely overwhelms her, and her entire personality switches to that of a crazy sex freak, which people don't realize is really not that far-fetched when you consider things like sex addiction and hypersexuality. Now, in no way is Anna a good representation of hypersexuality, but I would say she's a really good parody of it. Anna takes hypersexuality and bumps it to 11,000, honestly. And this creates this superhuman monstrosity of just pure lust, which, while most of the time used for comedy, is sometimes accurately portrayed as how scary Anna really is. 'Cause honestly, at the end of the day, she's just a criminal. I can go on and on, because Shimoneta covers things such as closeted homosexuality, creative freedom, and the corruption of a government intent on censoring its people. These are all very genuine messages of this anime about a girl with panties on her head, and are honestly messages that we need more now than ever, especially the censorship part, because like, YouTube. You're watching this on YouTube, obviously, since I only release this on YouTube, and this website is chock full of censorship. Most YouTubers don't swear or censor the swearing if they do swear. Now, I don't make enough money to give a shit personally, but the day might come where I do, and I need to stop swearing or censor it or whatever. I mean, I already make sure not to swear in the beginning when writing a script, because I know that's just insta demonetization for your video. And yes, I know it may seem like I'm making a big deal out of nothing here. Oh, boo-hoo, the YouTubers can't say a bad word, cry me a river. But that's not really what it's about. Who decides what words are okay to say and what aren't? What is the point of having words within our language that shouldn't be uttered? A word that never gets used is just nothing. Censorship is an erasure of something as fundamental as our language, and I think that's something that should be criticized no matter on how small of a level it is at. After all, there is a reason we have freedom of speech as a human right. Now, I could make the conclusion of this video about the lack of media literacy like I've done with about a million other videos, but I think I won't do that this time, because it's getting kind of overdone within this channel. I mean, I have a whole series covering that whole niche, so I think it would be a bit excessive at this point. No, what I want to make this video about is the simple message of everyone's voice is powerful. You may look at Shimoneta and think it's a stupid show with lowbrow humor, and when you hear me talk about how it has this deeper meaning and messaging, a lot of people might still not want to listen to those messages because they're coming from a show where the intro ends with the words
Cock and balls!
But just because this show is occasionally pretty fucking retarded doesn't mean it doesn't have something to say. This goes for many shows, like children's shows for example. I don't care if the Owl House was made for kids, the message of self-acceptance it had were fucking beautiful, goddammit! My point, like always, is that this extends beyond shows. There's a reason everyone is allowed to vote in, say, elections and such, and that's because at the end of the day, everyone's voice does actually matter. Even my voice, which you're listening to through the fabric of these panties that I have put on my head. What the fuck am I doing with my life?